We are going to start? Question mark. Okay, we're going to start. All right. Give me one moment. I look like a ghost. What the heck? Hey, saying. All right, here we go, friends. Somebody, you ready?
Yep.
All right, let's kick this off. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Snake X Island Season 4 Jury Bonfire. You five make up 5 of the 10 members of the jury, and soon we'll have to decide on who's deserving to win the $50 cash prize, and arguably more valuable, the title of Snake X Island Season 4 Sole Survivor. Isn't that exciting? So let's talk about tonight. At this jury bonfire, I will be your moderator this evening as we talk about the gameplay, or lack of gameplay, of the final 3. Some things to note going in, we're going to be discussing the games of Bella, Ryan, and Kayla under the scope of Outwit, Outplay, Outlast. So, while I could say loads about how each player did in each category, as per usual, my opinion doesn't matter. The criteria on which you evaluate each game and the weight that you give to each category is up to you. However, we will try to stick to the format of Outwit, Outplay, Outlast during the session, giving each category 15 minutes before moving on. Secondly, we do have a final tribal council to still attend, which means no matter how much of a mastermind you claim to be, you do not have all the information yet. The goal of today is not to make a decision, but rather to go over the information you do have so that you can determine what gaps need to be filled in at final tribal in order to determine who played the best game. We also ask that you spend time on each player in each section so that your perceptions of each player can be confirmed or challenged by your peers. Finally, despite jury being in the name of the discussion, I would like to remind you that today is not, I repeat, is not about you. I know, it's an earth-shattering revelation. We're going to be talking about the final 3 today, the moves they made, and the overall games they played. So please refrain from talking about your own gameplay, as it's likely irrelevant and derivative given that, well, you've been voted out. With that in mind, let's talk about our final 3. Our first category is Outwit. Under Outwit, we like to talk about the strategic gameplay, if they led any votes, how they brought votes together. We also like to talk about blindsides that occurred and how they handled any twists as they appeared throughout the game. So we can start with anyone who'd like to start, and you can start talking about any of the players you'd like. So who wants to kick us off?
I mean, do we want to talk about...
Let's talk about Kayla.
Yes, Kayla.
She was really strategic. Really strategic.
I'll go back on you.
I'll give Kayla where credit is due. I guess in some ways, like her, I mean, like I don't, at least myself, like from like my perspective, I can't think of like a certain like move that she led and stuff like that. However, she played kind of like a big role in like the Bryce blind side, because like she did kind of get Kieran on board. However, I did talk with Kieran about it like before, so it wasn't really like her really getting him on board, but like still I'll just say that like she kind of like solidified him as like a number. That's all I'll say though.
She's pretty.
I think like she was this is not the end game. Obviously, she was kind of an underdog, but I think like in like the mini merge, I think she had herself set up in a good alliance. Like she was in a good position there. Like she was like, I don't think she led anything, but her alliance like was kind of running some stuff, I think.
I feel like she just voted where she was told to vote.
Yeah.
She voted where she was told to vote, and she would just do it. I think at the end she was more following with Ryan, I think, but I have no idea. But that's where I just see with her, like gameplay wise, she would just vote where she was told to vote.
Yeah.
Did she win anything like individually? No. Okay. Well,
Did
she didn't outplay either.
I don't.
Wait, this is the outwit. This is the outwit category, right? The outwit.
Yeah. Please stick to the format, Jade. Oh my.
Okay, outwit, got it.
Shut it.
She definitely did not. Well, like I guess you could say she outwitted, but it's like even then, like I don't know. With like my tribal, when I went, like I was just very like annoyed at the fact that like she just didn't tell me straight up she was voting for me. Like I would have, because I came into that tribal knowing that like, or at least thinking that I knew that Kayla was gonna vote with me because we talked about it and like she was like very down from it from like when we did talk before. Maybe something changed unless if like she probably decided to go with like majority because like that would like not get her like pissed with like anybody. I don't know. But even then, like that's not really outwitting. But I just wanted to point that out there.
I I think a lack of her outwitting was when she went around when I was her ally and was telling people that I had 2 idols. Wait, this is gonna be about me. This is just like I'm this is like relating.
It's
I think
part of
like,
her game.
yeah, it was like I think that was a major lack of awareness. Like I very obviously did not have 2 idols, and like I wasn't her ally at the time. That pissed me off, and so I think that like, I think that definitely showed her lack of awareness when it came to the game, and she was too trusting of Ryan when he was the one who had the idols. So,
How about, because there was a decent amount of change in the typical format of this game. How do you think she handled the twists of this season?
I think she fit kind of well. I mean, she got around. Like, she did make it far enough, obviously, somehow, some way. But I think she handled it pretty well, obviously. But I don't really know.
Yeah. That's pretty much all I gotta say
Like,
for her.
yeah, I don't have anything to say.
her partner was out early, too. So, I mean, she did make it far with her partner where there was some people who still had them. Like, yeah.
I think her partner going though kind of like helped.
Yeah.
Not trying to be mean or anything, but like because it's kind of the same with like me and my partner, helped her gain like an identity for the game, because I feel like a lot of the times you would like overshadow, I at least overshadowed Kayla a lot with like her partner, but like obviously once Liz left, that changed a lot. So I mean,
I think Liz was definitely the prominent partner in my eyes at the time.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to another player then.
Let's just get this out of the way. What about Bella? What do we think about her?
I have nothing to say. We just never talked, so I think I'll stay quiet for this portion.
Yeah, I didn't really talk to her a lot, but
she's
there.
pretty. She's
Right.
With Bella a lot. Do you know some stuff that she would like talk about?
I mean, I feel like, at least like not for me being biased, because I feel like out of the people who are here, I was probably the person who talked to her the most because of the times that I was like in a call with her or like by myself with her. And while I like, from what I do know, that she was, you know, on the bottom a lot or left out of things or like maybe annoyed, but I can't speak how she feels. I feel like she handled things well, given like the card she was dealt, knowing that she was going to be like left out of everything and kind of like not like roped in, but she's always going to be on the bottom. And I feel like I feel like she was able to, you know, maybe not necessarily like entirely outweigh, but able to like work her way to where people like wouldn't want to vote her out, because I don't think that she received a vote until, I'm not gonna talk about that later, but yeah, I don't know. I can't like speak entirely for how she played, but I know from like the talks that I did have with her while she was upset, she was like doing the best with what she was dealt, essentially.
Yeah.
I know she was.
I
Like,
don't think
all talk. She was all talk though.
she definitely was all talk, I would feel like, and like I don't know. She just, there's not nothing I can say that like can like make her be known as the person who outwitted, because a lot of the times, at least like I don't know, a lot of the times like she would just be like unsure of where her vote would go, and it's like a mess. It's like you're not really outwitting because like you're just saying how like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. That's all she would like pretty much say a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that though.
So there's like nothing really to go off of because I never really knew what she was thinking. And a lot of the votes, like the way they went, it could seem like she's been following someone, but obviously I don't know that. So that's why I'm like very eager to hear about her FTC speech. Yeah.
So it sounds like a big question that we'll be having at Final Tribal is, we know that she was an underdog, but what did she do within that position? Okay.
Exactly.
Awesome. Any other points about Bella before we move on, or do we want to talk about our final finals?
I
All
don't
right,
think I
sounds like
have
we're moving
anything
on to
else
Ryan.
to add. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Ryan in the Outwood portion of this game.
I don't know where to begin. That's the point. I don't know where to begin.
Well, let's talk about from can be pre-merge, can be post-merge, how you felt he did when it came to votes.
Votes. I think he actually like came more towards the end. He was actually making more of like bigger moves because I know early he was focusing on another game, so he would come to other people asking them like, "What's happening with the vote? What's going on? You tell me, I'll do it." And honestly, like coming to like final 8, he actually started like trying to make more for his beneficial game instead of trying to follow along on where to go. I mean, I definitely want to like that would be a question to ask more, but I definitely think like votes he actually like improved for himself than following other people.
I wasn't like there towards like the like merge portion of the game, but during the beginning, that's where I disagree with you, Destiny, because I was with him most of the time. He was not. He never asked me, and we were aligned where the votes lied. He was usually the one telling us what to do, and then we kind of went along with him. So
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I know he would come to me. He's like blah 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 blah, and then I'd be like, okay. I would tell him what to do, and then he would do it and pass along to the people who I was not well connected with. So I would always rely to him to tell you stuff. So like he would follow along with the some plans, but obviously I don't know all.
Yeah. I will also say too, like at least in pre-merge, Trey, him, and I, like we were from like the old tribe or from like the first tribe because like just whatever, like we just decided to like click together, and then it was like Jade and John as well. I don't know if there's anybody else, I can't recall, but the John vote out, like I will say though, like it wasn't really him. I felt like Trey and I definitely talked about it beforehand, so I will say at least for like pre-merge he wasn't necessarily like a leader, but I will also agree with Destiny, like at least like towards like mid-merge. I feel like mid-merge is when I saw him more of like, leading votes and stuff like that. And I definitely think that like um he like grew as a player as like the rounds went along, which is normal because that's kind of how you play. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Um, anything we want to talk about how he handled the twist of the season?
I think he handled.
Sorry, you could go, Zeb.
I was just gonna say I think he handled it well because like a lot of the times like although like I knew like Bryce and him weren't like really like obviously they were a duo and stuff like that, but a lot of the times I honestly thought they were both like not really like as connected as I thought. So I think they did handle that really well. But yeah, that's all I really had to say about that.
No, yeah. I mean, he actually used Bryce as a shield in the beginning. Before he became one himself, he was able to throw Bryce under the bus. Like, if you guys vote him, you can vote him. I know who my partner is. So he took that like really into consideration with Bryce. So I mean, it was kind of a smart thing because a lot of people did have Bryce on their hit list before Ryan, but stuff happened. But I think he really used the twist to his like advantage.
Yeah.
All right. And then we talked a little bit about pre-merge. How do we feel he did towards the end of the line as we've approached the end of the game?
I mean, he kind of had to play the surviving game, I feel like, at that point, because it was obvious that like after Destiny, he was definitely like I feel like like one of the biggest contenders to like win the game because like of how like just like people in general like notice like how good his game is, I feel like. So, you know, I think I think he did fun, like towards the end, like really good. So he did what he had to do. He won fire, and he won Final Five immunity, which is good for him, and then saved Bella, which was very ideal for him because obviously had like if he didn't win immunity, I definitely felt like it would have been like Bella going at that point. So yeah.
Okay. And then on the strategic sides of things, I guess the question I would have is, do you consider it a detriment or a positive to his game that he ended up becoming a major target? Is that something positive that speaks to his outwit, the fact that people recognized how good his strategic game was, or was it negative that people did end up recognizing it?
People recognized it at the wrong time, I think. And I guess he just really played well with how big of a target he knew he was. With especially me and Seb trying to target him a few times, he knew where he had to get along, and he played it really well. I mean, he had those idols, and he used those to his advantage, basically bluffing about them, and actually playing them at some point. So, I mean, he actually did get away with how big of a target he was.
All right. Are there any other questions we have about his gameplay in this category?
No.
All right, then let's go ahead and move on to the outplay portion. So this has to do with immunity challenge wins, obviously, but also how you outplayed within the other aspects of the game, whether it be advantages or twists and that kind of stuff. So we can start with whoever for this one.
I'll just like to get this out of the way with, like, let's just start where we started first last time with Kayla. Well, one, she didn't have any immunity wins, but that's like not the point of this portion. But it's like, I don't think she really outplayed a lot of like people, or I don't think she literally like outplayed in a sense that like that it was like good gameplay in my opinion. I don't know, but like that's just my opinion. I could probably elaborate on that later, but I want to give other people a chance to talk. So
I have really no idea. I think
I don't
that's
know.
more something that I would have to ask at Final Tribal about her, because I still want to hear her out a lot more, not just like going in there doing one person. Like I really want to hear her and Bella and Ryan still out. But that's just where I'm really like stumped at, so I don't really know how to like talk about that with her.
I don't know what she did. Like, did I mean that respectfully? I can't. Like, there's nothing like defining there that I can think of. But I can say that for like all three of them. Not gonna lie.
All right, so definitely sounds like something we need to ask about when we get there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes that part of the portion of tonight pretty quick. So let's just move on to Bella then.
I'm sorry. I don't really know about Bella.
Yeah, I don't really know about Bella like individually. I will say though, kind of like latching onto Ryan, at least for like him to play advantages with her is like definitely like, as much as I hate to be like, oh, like she did nothing, whatever, but it's like she definitely like that did help her out because like at the end of the day, she was kind of in the right side of things. I feel like at least towards the end, whereas like I was on the outs and like same with other people. So I will give her that like she definitely did do that. I will say though, like I don't really know in specific like what can like define her as like I guess the queen of like outplaying. So I definitely do have to like I feel like us as a jury have to ask her about that when it gets to FTC. But yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Seb, honestly.
I don't really know how she out. Like I didn't speak to her, so I don't know like what she was doing. You know, I just like we just like didn't talk. Like I feel like if you're gonna like outplay, like I feel like you kind of need to be like in connection with everyone, and she definitely was like in connection with only her circle. And I mean, it's kind of hypocritical for me to say that because like I didn't text everyone either. But like, I don't know. I don't think that she like can say she outplayed when she didn't like fully like connect with everyone.
All right. Well, I guess then we will move on to the man who had 2 idols in this game, so probably a little bit more to talk about under this category. If did he play him well? Did you like how he used them? And then obviously how he did in the other portions of this game.
I mean, I kind of hated how he had to pull them out once Caden said, I did a bag. He knew bag check happened. That's when he was like, Simona, please confirm these 2 idols. That kind of sucked. I wish that never happened, but I think he played them. He just took advantage of them, which was good for his part. Like, people knew not to vote him. Some people still voted for him, but he played them where he had to play them. I mean, they were kind of wasted, kind of not. I mean, but he took advantage of the idols. I think those were like a big like thing that kind of helped him out. I don't really know what else, unless anyone else does. But
I kind of like that he held on to them till the very last second. I think that's more like impressive to me that he didn't really need to use them. Like I liked how risky he was with them. Like when he almost went home, he didn't use the idol. I'm not sure if he had it at that point. I believe he had one at least. So like I liked how risky he was with them, and like also the travel that I got rocked out, he didn't use it either. Like I don't know. I kind of like it's a little cocky. Like I think he was a little bit like fawny with it, but at the same time, like also I do respect that he was like confident enough to not play them or waste them. So I respect that.
Yeah, I will say, whoa, what the hell? Anyways, I will say that I definitely think it was very smart on his part to, well, for one, like say that he wasn't going to use either of them at the tribal when like his name was going around, stuff like that, or like there was talk of his name. I definitely think that was very smart on his part, because I feel like without the advantages, I feel like if he didn't win like the immunities he did, at least towards the end, like he would be in such like a vulnerable position and it would be easy to take him out. So although it was like not necessarily successful advantage plays, he did take advantage of them he did take advantage of the situation and use them, like I guess in a way to outplay us, because we expected him to use it and he didn't do it. So that was a very good move on his part. Yeah.
All right. Well, it sounds like in this category, we're going to be asking about Ryan, how he did with the idols, and how the other 2 did despite the idols. So keep that in mind when you're forming your questions. Let's move on finally to the Outlast portion. And that's just all encompassing the journey from beginning to end, how they managed to reach the final point through social connections, through gameplay, through different storylines, what made their case unique that everyone else that was a part of this game couldn't replicate what they did and make the final 3. Let's just go in the same order. We can talk about Kayla first.
I think Kayla really outlasted just because on her voting, I mean, the more she kept going, people were actually recruiting her in as like numbers when she was needed to vote with them. I know I typically did that a lot with Sev, but like we needed her. She was basically helping us, and that's why she stayed longer, because we knew she would vote. So I think that's how she really like kind of outlasted. Maybe some social connections, yeah, but that's how I see how she made it further.
I was gonna say something and I forgot.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like waiting for you to say something, then you went. I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
This kind of has to do, I guess, with like, her and Liz being partners. That I feel like both of them were working with different people. So in a way, people that like were associated with Liz, Kayla may not have been associated with, but because Liz and Kayla were working so close together, they kind of had like this bigger overlapping group of people that both of them were working with that maybe weren't working with each other. So she was kind of able to use that in her advantage. Like, for example, I never like explicitly trusted her, but I knew that like I had her as a number, or she had me as a number, vice versa. And I feel like she had that with like a few other people as well. And she was really able to use that to her advantage. Like, given the fact that while she may not have done the most, she had all these people that like trusted her, she trusted, maybe she broke their trust, maybe they broke her trust, whatever, but she was still able to like do major damage control and like make it to the final 3. So
Yeah, I'll touch upon that as well. I definitely think she definitely had like arguably like the most options. I feel like a lot of the times people felt like they needed her, especially me, because as soon as like um towards like mid-merge and stuff like that, that's like when I really connected with her. And like although we weren't ever on the same side, we decided to stick like sticky glue, at least until when she voted me off. But other like before that, like she was just like, I don't know, she had like a lot of options. So I definitely will give her props on that. Like she definitely wasn't like sticking to like one specific, I guess, alliance or like individual. I feel like she definitely had her own juggle of like a lot of people, which definitely could be seen as like weak, but I definitely think it's kind of like smart because obviously she had to kind of play the surviving game at some point, like towards like the mid merge. So I think it's definitely good on her part that she had the social connections she did and like the deals she would kind of publicly make. So yeah, and those are funny because no one really like called her out on it or anything. Like she just kept doing it, and like no one really bothered to say anything, which I think is kind of good, on, like really good on her part. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then it sounds like potentially a question for her would be, you had these connections that you could have used. How did you use them, kind of thing? Is that what I'm hearing? All right, cool. Well, let's go ahead then and move on to Bella. Sure, her kind of, it sounds like what we said so far is that she kind of had the underdog storyline. So how did that affect her social game throughout the process of this game?
I honestly have no idea.
I will say that, you know, because her and Sergio were obviously partners and Sergio did get voted out like kind of relatively early, that she did have to be in the game for like a really long time, like by herself. And while she did have like, you know, connections with people, she now like had to be more active because like, you know, she was in school and everything. So she kind of had to manage like school and being in this game and also hiding it from her mom, which I think is hilarious. Um, but yeah, given the fact that I think from was it the 5th vote out onwards, she was in the game full time, had to, you know, talk to even more people, had to be like even more active and give her all to the game. So for like the amount of time that she was by herself, I think she did a good job. And while we kind of said this earlier, while she maybe have stuck to like her circle of people, she still like, you know, like talked to and made social connections with like the other side, quote unquote, since there were sides in this game, and kind of use that to her advantage to where, you know, she didn't get a vote, like I said earlier, she didn't get a vote until like really late in the merge, I don't think. So that's like kind of impressive on its own that while she was by herself and necessarily on the bottom for the longest time, she didn't get a vote, I don't think, until the tie vote between her and Destiny.
Yeah, I had to agree. I mean, she stuck where she had to stick. Like she went with the people she needed to go with, and that's how she knew how to survive. Especially towards the end, she knew where she had to separate from closest allies to actually get with people who would actually kind of take her to the end. And I think that's how she actually did. She knew what she was doing. I would have to give her that. So that's how she really outlasted most of us. But yeah.
Okay, well, in that case, why don't we move on to the final finalist again and talk about Ryan?
um I mean, Ryan, I don't think anyone really wanted to vote him out. I think people didn't want to vote him out until the last like few votes. I typically didn't want to vote him out just because for reasons, but that's why he didn't get out really early. So I don't really know how else. I mean, he did play. He knew where he had to win, where he needed to win immunities. That's where he tried harder to get where he needed to be, especially outlasting all of us with them idols for a while. So, I mean, that's how he really got there. But, like, socially, he actually climbed with social stabilities with what he did. I mean, there's a lot of things he did, but I can't like point them all out, but he did a lot.
I will say, yeah, like coming into the cast, he obviously arguably had like the most connections, so that definitely helped on his part a lot. I feel like, however, even with that, like he still had to like work, especially because he almost went out like early to mid merge. I don't remember when, but he went out like around there. And yeah, like kind of like Destiny said, I will say though, he like part of the reason why at least like her and I didn't go after him was mainly because of the fact that like we were like the only duos left. So that's the only reason why I felt like we weren't like against him. However, I felt like if it was a different situation, we definitely would have like done something about it. Cause I didn't honestly like coming into the merge, I wanted to take out Ryan like before Bryce. However, he was very fortunate to win that immunity. And Bryce ended up being the casualty. So I will say, yeah, like Destiny said, like he def needed, like he won immunities where he needed to, so he def did outlast, and he used the fact that he had two advantages correctly because, like earlier, that like I said earlier, like he didn't even need to use one of them when we already all knew that he had two of them because we expected him to play one of himself to secure his safety, but obviously that was a very good move on his part. So I definitely think he did outlast like a lot.
All right. Any final thoughts anyone has on the final three about overarching gameplay, little minor things, or things that you think the rest of the jury should know before we close out?
Now I know what kind of questions I need to ask. So honestly, I don't really know what else to talk about.
Yeah. Team jury, methinks.
Agreed.
Well, that's all right then. So,
But yeah.
obviously, Simona and Zach will be talking about this in the chat, but make sure to keep in mind that we are going to do one question per person. We ask that you only ask one of the finalists your question. So please talk amongst each other about what questions you might ask. That's kind of the purpose of tonight, is to kind of figure out what questions you might want to ask, and then kind of space out, who's asking who what questions so we don't have any redundancies, and we also don't pile all the questions onto one person. You can, if there's someone you have more questions for, obviously you can push a majority towards them, but we do kind of, want to include everyone, give everyone a chance in this final. Thank you guys so much for attending tonight. I really do appreciate everyone who did show up. I can't speak for Simona and Zach, but if I would say that it would be reflecting in just overall opinion of the participants. But yeah, really appreciate, great discussion, guys. Appreciate that you guys took time to talk about each person, didn't didn't block anyone else out from talking. So it was really good tonight, and definitely something we're going to continue into the future because you guys made it great tonight. So if Simona